Könnte ich da theoretisch wieder raus? Nee, kann ich nicht. Okay.
So that seems to be it, right? You walk down a corridor, you solve a puzzle, you get to the end. Simple enough. Alright, now I'm going to modify the game again so that when you press enter, it'll remove all of the walls from this room.
Okay. Ui. Alter, was?
How about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it funny that this game comes after the Stairs game, since they essentially convey the opposite idea. So, in the Stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior. And then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic outer world. Either way, I think that the point is the same, is that most of the time you don't get to know what you're missing, or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player. So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it?
Oh. Du verlässt nun.
Aha. So, this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that Coda believes his games are connected somehow. It could even be that the Stairs game and the puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game. There's a bigger picture that all of his games are meant to play a role in, some larger meaning that we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them. And once we have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is.
März 2009. Oben geblieben ist noch keiner.
Let's talk about video game development for a second. Every video game runs on what's called an engine, which determines what the game can and cannot do. So in other words, the engine is a set of tools for game development. To make all of these games, Coda is using an engine called Source. Like all engines, Source has certain things that it does well, and it has certain things that it does poorly. One of the things that it does very well is boxy linear corridors. That's why so many of Coda's games are set in these large, flat, empty rooms, is just because he's working with what the engine does well. The tools available to the creator shape what kinds of creative work they're going to end up making. You might consider paying attention to the architecture in Coda's games, to notice how they seem to stem from an engine that's very good at producing linear, boxy corridors.
Streetwise Fool. Streetwise Fool. Okay, wir gehen mal rein. No. Oh. Unter dem Level. Okay. Schaffe ich? Schaffe ich? Schaffe ich. Okay, und was wird das jetzt? Ja. Da kommen wir nicht rein. Nee, da kommen wir nicht rein. Oh, das ist ein Aufzug.
This prison, funny enough, in Coda's original design, the doors stayed shut for a full hour before letting you go. If you don't mind, I think we're gonna skip that. This is something that he and I used to argue about a lot. You know, whether a game ought to actually be playable, whether it means anything if no one can get through it. And I would always defend that, you know, all this work goes into the game, why not make it playable and accessible? And so we just got into heated arguments over it, and there was one time that after one of these conversations, he went home, and a day or two later, he sent me a zip file entitled Playable Games that was full of hundreds of individual games, each of which was just an empty box that you walked around in and nothing else. Believe me, I played every single one of those just to find out if there was like a gag hidden somewhere. There wasn't.
Oh.
It's the puzzle again, with the exact same solution as the last time.
Ah. Wir haben kurz ausprobiert, ob das Ding uns zerquetscht.
There's still no clear indication of what makes this puzzle so special that Coda is going to return to it over and over. But I promise I'll share with you my interpretation very shortly.
Man sieht den Himmel. Jetzt nicht mehr. Okay, wo kommst du von oben? Was ist da oben?
Here, Coda begins using a kind of dialogue system that he fashioned out of the engine's chat capabilities. Use the 1, 2, 3 buttons on your keyboard to respond.
Ich drücke jetzt mal alle 3 gleichzeitig. Ah, oder? Ein riesiges Gefängnis, da steht diese farbigen Katzen, die ganz weiß war. Ne, ich geh mal 1. Das ist die Welt da oben. Du warst wirklich dort. Jetzt etwas Wichtiges. Musst du ein Rätsel mit 2 Türen und Schaltern lösen? Nein, ja, das war das allerletzte, was ich getan habe, bevor ich herkam. Nein, an das Rätsel erinnere ich mich nicht. Darüber möchte ich nicht mit dir reden. Schließlich kennen wir uns noch gar nicht. Was? Du verstehst nicht. Wir stecken hier fest. Das Rätsel ist unser einziger Ausweg, aber wir müssen es lösen. Das meint ihr, aber glaubt mir, das möchtet ihr nicht wirklich. Lasst es mich euch beschreiben. Ich werde euch sagen, was euch da drüben erwartet. Na gut, ich verrate euch die Lösung. Nein, das reicht nicht. Du musst wirklich dort sein. Ich muss wirklich dort sein. Es reicht nicht, wenn ich davon höre. Ich muss es mit eigenen Augen sehen. Ich muss aus diesem Gefängnis entkommen. Es muss ein Ende geben. Krass. Die leben eigentlich hier im absoluten Paradies. Wenn man das jetzt eigentlich mal hier so anschaut. Strahlenblauer Himmel, Sonne, alles. Und, ne? Sie wollen aber hier weg. Sie wissen nicht, was da hinten ist. Was hinter diesem Rätsel ist. Was hinter diesen Türen ist. Und wollen deshalb, genau deshalb dahin. Obwohl es eigentlich objektiv betrachtet eine schlechtere Welt ist. Okay, nochmal. Hallo, wie bist du hergekommen? Musstest du dazu ein Rätsel lösen? Ich schlage vor, du siehst dir das Rätsel selbst vor Ort an. Hey, warte, ich gebe kein Rätsel. Es geht nicht um eine Lösung, sondern einfach darum, in dem schwarzen Bereich in der Mitte zu sitzen. Ja, was passiert, wenn ich es löse? Warum sollte ich mich in den schwarzen Bereich setzen? Wer bist du? 1 und 2 wären schon interessant. Das ist ziemlich ruhig und beschaulich. Das scheint am Anfang zwar nicht so, aber man merkt es bald, irgendwann. Irgendwann.
And so we make one last descent down to the final floor of the level. It's a lamppost. Okay, I can't tell you quite why, but for some reason Coda fixates on this lamppost. It's going to appear at the end of every single one of his games from here on out. I'll tell you what I think. I think that up to this point, he's been making really strange and abstract games with no clear purpose, and maybe you can only float around in that headspace for so long. Because now he wants something to hold on to. He wants a reference point. He wants the work to be leading to something. He wants a destination, which is what this lamppost is. It's a destination. We're going to see it in the work as well. His games are just going to become a lot more cohesive, a lot more fully developed, with more of a clear idea behind them. And as we go, that idea will get clearer and clearer and clearer.
Okay, let's go. April 2009. Dieses Spiel ist mit dem Internet verbunden. Beim Herumlaufen kannst du Notizen hinterlassen. Alle Notizen, die du siehst, wurden von anderen Spielern hinterlassen wahrscheinlich. Die Frage ist, stimmt das? Netter Raum, von wegen. Kann ich hier Notizen hinterlassen?
So first off, I'm sure you can deduce this, but this game is not connected to the internet.
Yeah.
All of the notes that you're going to see have been written by Coda. This was actually the first game of his that I ever played. This was shortly after I met him at a weekend game jam in Sacramento, where I grew up. I saw him working on this very level, and it was just so different from anything that anyone else was doing. So right away I was like, I have to be friends with this person. In retrospect, I think I was probably a bit too pushy, trying to get his attention. I was over-enthusiastic. But he was very gracious about it and very patient with me. And I cooled off eventually.
Wenn das wir wirklich mit dem Internet verbunden wäre und die Spieler hier Notizen hinterlassen könnten, müsste mindestens einmal hier Penis stehen. Das können wir jetzt... Gebe ich euch Brief und Siegel drauf.
Oh, feel free to skip over any of these notes if they're not doing anything for you. Nothing extra is going to happen if you read all of them. Either way, to me they convey a sense of loneliness. I see this person who's filled with thoughts and feelings and beliefs and has no way to express them except as scattered and unheard voices in a game that wasn't meant to be played.
Ich kann mit absoluter Sicherheit garantieren, dass es
But
hier
it's
an diesem Ort
ironic,
irgendwann
isn't
Eichel
it,
gibt.
that in playing this game and seeing how alone Coda often felt, that we get to know him better and actually kind of connect with him. And I have to be honest with you, this idea is really seductive to me. That I could just play someone's game and see the voices in their head and get to know them better and have to do less of the messy in-person socializing. I could just get to know you through your work. I think this is why I always liked Coda's games so much, is because it felt like they let me have that connection. I felt as though he was inviting me personally into his world. And then I feel less lonely too.
Ich bin in Gefahr. Ich konnte da nicht runterspringen.